Open the introduction. Farhan? Okay. Mr. Farhan is the director with Alvarez and Marshall company and leads the logistics services and technology vertical. He has successfully advised multiple corporates and logistics service providers on enhancing their logistics capabilities and incorporating best-in-class technology stacks. Please welcome Mr. Farhan. Your panel is there.
Hi everyone. I was just telling some members of the panel that I always get this mic wrong. But it's wonderful to be here, and even more wonderful for me to be actually in the company of some very experienced and esteemed logistics leaders of our industry. I'll just quickly, without ado, just request Ranjan, Nilesh, Kumar, and Atul to join us on stage.
Thank you all for joining us here on stage today, and look forward to some insights from you. The topic of this discussion is the enablement of digital technologies in omni-channel retail. And I'd maybe first start like to invite Atul, right, just comment on some of the changing trends in the omni-channel space and in consumer trends, right, and the relevance of omni-channel with respect to that.
Yeah. So I think in last few years, there is a huge change in customer trends, customer buying trends, the shopping trends, and in pandemic, this has actually gone up because thanks to the internet and e-commerce business, which has actually surged. So what is happening is into a scenario wherein customer has a choice to buy online, maybe to brick and mortar store. They are looking at some synergy, and that synergy is something which is kind of a stepping stone of omnichannel, because there is always a difference. We have multi-channels. Multi-channels are basically, most of the companies have gone on multi-channels. They have brick and mortar stores, they have online shopping stores. But how that experience gets simulated, how that experience get integrated, and customer doesn't see that they see both the platforms as same for his or her buying patterns, is something which is interesting, and that's where this omni-channel digitization and supply chain into this plays a very, very crucial role.
Thanks, Atul. Kumar, would you like to just add to that, your perspective as well?
Yeah, sure. So I think this omni-channel piece was into discussion for I think last 6-7 years. Once, typically there was an offline, then there is an online, and now it is omni-channel, right? And the intensity got increased, I think post-COVID to a very large extent. Primarily, I think I agree with Atul, that it got the right push. The fundamental question is, why we are calling it as omni-channel? It is always about customer, right? And providing the right choice to the customer. So effectively, when we say that we are getting into an omni-channel piece, by design we are saying that the customer has to be agnostic of whatever channels we are present, right? And effectively, the solution what we are trying to provide should complement the convenience of the customer. So always there are two cases. One is obviously the biggest case is customer case, and second is business case. And effectively, a profitable business is built only when these two pieces converge, and then things move forward, right? So that's where we are as of now. I'm not the cusp of it. Obviously, this entire profitability across this entire omni-channel piece is a big question mark as of now. But yeah, teams, companies are moving ahead, and I think it is about experimenting it right and building the right scale towards it. Pretty interesting space to be in. Lots and lots of changes. We are not talking only about fulfillment on the forward side, but equivalent convenience on the reverse side. So just to give an example, at Croma, by design, whenever customer purchases an online, so be it on a Tata Croma or Croma.com or Tata New. So by design, we are constantly looking at that. Say for example, if there is any challenge with the product or any services required, can the customer be serviced at my local store, right, which is very near to him. That is one side of it, obviously by design. Second side is, since we have got an infrastructure which is available across, in terms of that store front, which is very near to the customer. So by design, as a philosophy of getting product closer to the customer, this clearly indicates that our fulfillment time will be fulfillment time will be obviously very less and very certain. So by design, we are providing a very different kind of convenience to the customer, trying to build a good case around it, and obviously planning it as a part of way forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Kumar. And I'm sorry we didn't get your introduction. I think Atul missed yours as well, please. So if you could just quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Atul Barve. I head Reliance Digital Supply Chain, which is under Reliance Retail.
Yeah, I am Kumar. I head supply chain for Croma, and right now taking care of the entire omnichannel fulfillment at Croma.
Ranjan, the next question is for you. So maybe I'll just request you to quickly introduce yourself, and before I throw out the next question.
Hi, I'm Ranjan Sharma. I'm the CIO and the head of supply chain for Bestseller India. When you talk of Bestseller, Bestseller is a house of brands, international brands. We are a Danish company, and we have brands like Jack & Jones, Veramora, Only, Selected. We have 9 brands in the country, but we have more than 30 plus brands globally.
Nilesh?
Hi, I'm Nilesh. I head the supply chain for Pantaloon's division within ABFRL.
Thanks everyone. Ranjan, as I mentioned, the next question is to you. Just help us understand some of the key enablers to omnichannel, and very importantly, how has technology played a role?
So I think one of the important aspects when we started working on omnichannel, initially it has been a long journey for all of us, if I remember correctly, and as Kumar rightly said, it's a 6 to 7 years. I think it's even more than that when we started talking about omnichannel. And as we were talking before coming onto the stage, that it's a topic that has been done to death, but then still there's so much more which is coming into this topic, and there is so much more that we are evolving every day. As we keep solving one problem, we discover that there's another problem which is coming up. Some of the things that's important from an omnichannel perspective is what is it that we are trying to solve. One is solving for the customer, and what are we solving for the customer? The biggest ask from a customer's perspective is the speed in which the product needs to be delivered to him, the seamlessness for him to be able to buy anywhere, go back and return anywhere, replace, exchange, or repair and get the service done. That's from a customer's perspective, that's the key. What is it for us to deliver this? When we started doing omnichannel, what we were trying to solve from our perspective was how do we to deliver that speed in terms of the product delivery. We will have to find places where we can deliver the fastest, and which means that we have to pick the closest place from where we can deliver that and build capabilities around that. What was the closest place? More often than not, it is always the stores. Because of the spread that we will have, we cannot have so many distribution centers, but we will have as many stores. Which means the store which was supposed to be selling to a customer who is walking into that store, now it has to double up in terms of doing a fulfillment. Which means accepting an order, packing the product, shipping it, handling the logistics side, and then the worst part of it is handling the returns. Because that's the most complex part of it. A forward fulfillment is still easier, but then the return process, especially in fashion, is and I think it's not just in fashion, maybe even in other categories as well. Because every category has to go through that same process of the moment you receive the product, you need to identify whether the product is right, is it what you had sent as a product, if the product is damaged, defective, do the quality check and all of that. That's when technology has started enabling. And one problem that we had as retailers was how do you bring so many people in your stores? So especially I talk for in our case where we had about 2,800 people in the stores. How do you bring them all to understand and talk the same thing and do the same thing which is repeatable? And technology was the only place where you could have brought all of them together, simplify the processes, train them quickly, and make them serviceable, which means that they are able to deliver that entire experience from a consumer's perspective, because what we are solving for, the primary thing is the fastest delivery, because that's what we are competing for. And that's where the speed of accepting the order, finding the product, ensuring that that product is rightly packed and shipped out faster is the key. And hence training these people who are supposed to be selling on the shop floor, doubling up for packaging and sending this merchandise as well. And constantly, if you look at retail, the amount of churn that you have in terms of people, continuous training of these new people who are joining in as well. That was one problem with technology, is bringing everyone on the same page. The other piece is the most complex piece in terms of identifying where do you want to ship it from. And it might not necessarily be the nearest store. Over a period of time, as the process matures, as the business matures, you will also have to start looking at which is the most profitable place for you to ship that merchandise out. And that's where the whole complexity starts falling in place, because there are a number of parameters that you need to look into, and that's where again the technology starts playing a role. One of the biggest problems even to reach any of these stages was having a real-time inventory visibility of the store itself. That was the most complex piece, which if you talk of 5-7 years back, none of us had. Hardly any of us was solving for a real-time store inventory synchronized across and then being able to proliferate to different channels. And imagine this is not just your own e-commerce, you could have also multiple marketplaces as well who could be placing these orders. So be able to synchronize that inventory for everyone, be able to take the order and be able to guide that order to whichever store you would want to fulfill and then take the journey forward. So that's where technology is playing a role. Technology is bringing all of this together. Technology has enabled us to be able to run this business, without which I think, honestly speaking, this was never a possibility.
Atul, Nilesh, would you like to add to that?
I think very interesting what Ranjan said. And when we started off, I think the biggest problem that all of us were trying to solve for is real-time inventory visibility. That's a problem which plagued possibly all of us for a very, very long period of time. While we solved for all of that, we realized that there are other challenges around the quality of our tech stack. Most of us have built our tech stacks incrementally and not necessarily taken a larger term view of our tech stack. So for example, when we started off, most of us started off with marketplaces, right? We built a dropship kind of module, we went to a couple of vendors, we got a solution around that. As COVID hit, we thought that possibly brand.com, which is likely to be a lot more profitable, is something that we need to invest in. We built tech stacks around it. In that whole gamut, we realized that possibly we built too many systems handling too many things and not necessarily talking to each other, right? Because at the end of the day, systems are systems. No matter what kind of API integrations that you do, there are always bound to be points of failure. So to me, I think that's the second large problem that we created. Over a period of time, obviously, most of us have tried to streamline these systems, but somewhere we personally feel that the customer is still ahead of us. Most of the brands, most of the product organizations are still possibly 2 steps behind the customer. So you just look at some of the numbers, right? Most of the sales that today happens in India, 60 to 70% of that is actually digitally influenced. May not necessarily be bought online, but it is digitally influenced. It's a very, very large quantum. So customer is definitely ahead of us. How do we look at it from a slightly longer term perspective and build our solutions around that is really the ask.
Just wanted to add a couple of points on this. Obviously, with technology, the whole omnichannel experience, we are trying to improvise for the customers. And if you see in last few years, I think customer, even for a brick and mortar store, if you see any larger appliances or electronic goods, customers just don't go to a shop and buy as it is. I mean, they go online, they check online, and then they see on the multiple platforms, and then they go to the brick and mortar store. So for any retailer or for any seller, it's quite important that the experience for the customer has to be seamless. I think there are a few companies, I mean, I can understand obviously Ranjan has mentioned few of the challenges, but there are few companies who have done exceedingly well in such even after having these complexities in technology. One of the leading shoe manufacturer, Adidas, they're actually having a tie-up with certain marketplaces wherein if inventory is not available in their shop, they have an option to give customer another option on then and there itself. I mean, that kind of seamlessness which is being required, and that's that meaning of Omni, which is universal experience, seamless experience is all about. But yeah, I think there will the technology, it will still take time to evolve. But what I could see is that that's one of the need of an hour which we need to keep on working upon. Yeah.
Thanks Atul. Very insightful, right, from all three of you. I think, and we covered, in our previous discussion, we covered elements around operations, we covered elements around customers, we covered elements around the technology stacks. Right? I think now just moving track a little bit, right, and just talking about, the stakeholders involved, the feet on the street, the people involved in actually enabling this. What role do they have to play to ensure that Omnichannel becomes a success, remains a success, and is here to stay, right? And at the end of the day, the customer gets, the experience and the seamless experience that they want and they wish for. And Kumar, maybe I'll leave with you on this.
So I think Ranjan has really touched a very fundamental thing. In this entire market, I mean, as in when the complexity increases by design, the only question is how you can simplify things to such an extent that your training cycle time is very, very minimal and quality is delivered in a very consistent form. These are two basic objectives what we need to really look up to when we plan any kind of omnichannel journey, right? For example, I mean, as we move ahead, so the scale at which this entire pace is growing, by design, consumer has an option. They can go with any of the players, right? I mean, any of the retailers who are available in the market. I mean, obviously in the same category. Then what is the biggest differentiator? Because the products are getting standardized, so obviously there has to be a differentiation which has to come in service side of it. And with that service side of differentiation, it all depends on, I mean, depending upon the customer cues, what a customer requires, I mean, how you design your entire infrastructure and facilities around that, right? I mean, and obviously a very hassle-free experience to the customer. So say for example, in our case at Croma, say for example, if somebody purchases a appliance, right? So by design, it is not about delivering an appliance and the job is done. It is about delivering an appliance, doing an installation, providing a repair service, obviously, I mean, whenever it is required, and all those things at the fingertip of the customer. So that's the whole expectation, and and to do all of that, by design there has to be a right set of technology which needs to be enabled across to help making these this entire experience very seamless. Eventually, what we're trying to get onto is into the life cycle of the product for the customer, right? Because eventually, at our place, we typically call it as a responsible consumption. With that, what we really want to get onto is that, I mean, since technology is evolving, so by design, the customer might not be, I mean, majority of the customers in India, I'm not talking about a handful of it, but majority of the customers in India, they are not very clear about what is the right time to upgrade or go for an upgrade, right? So there they require an assistance. So with all those things coming in place, one thing is very, very crucial is that the knowledge which the staff should have, I mean, who is working, which is basically feet on ground, they should have a very unified form of knowledge which should constantly evolve. So this brings a very important problem of managing the entire training life cycle of an employee who itself has a short lifespan in the ecosystem, right? I mean, obviously with that kind of churn, people moving in and out. So it makes it very, very crucial that technology has to play a very crucial role not only in enabling this entire fulfillment experience, but also ensure the readiness of the team or the staff on the ground, so that they should get the right set of inputs whenever it is required. I mean, obviously, say for example, in a scenario like Croma, where it is a multi-brand retail, right? So obviously, a staff which is there on the shop floor, he should not only know what is there, but obviously know beyond that. And that piece makes things very tricky, right? I mean, many times I feel like whenever I visit a store, is like the kind of things what they're supposed to get onto and remember basis customer expectation. Pretty phenomenal, I think, and that's where simplifying things makes very critical for enabling a right workforce on the ground. So that's how we should take it up, I think, in the long run also. Yeah.
Thanks, Kumar. Nilesh, would you like to add to that?
I think I wanted to double down on what Kumar said. This entire problem of staff being able to serve omni-channel customer is real, and at the end of the day it boils down to that, and there is no second solution to that but to solving this problem. In an industry, in our industry, where we typically see anywhere between 30-40% attrition, sometimes even more in markets where opportunities are better, how do we structurally look at the role of staff in a role? How do we hire right? So personally, for example, at ABFRL, what we do is, from an earlier era where we typically used to hire staff at minimum wages, we now go out of the way to hire people with a digital mindset, with a learning agility, because the role of the staff, where it used to be to cater to a walk-in customer, is no longer be all and end all. Right? Today, 30% of our business, for example, happens through omnichannel. The customer discovers our brand online, he's there just to make the purchase. How does the staff, instead of operating from a sales mindset, gets into an experience mindset is very critical. Right kind of training inputs for the staff, constantly creating champions in every store, where you create heroes, people look up to them, and then it becomes a virtuous cycle. That, I think, is really the be-all and end-all for us for an omnichannel journey. Today, most of us talk about omnichannel as fulfillment from store, but that is not really an omnichannel model, right? That's just a buy online, deliver from store, so on and so forth. The real omnichannel journey starts much beyond that, where a customer would buy online, return in store, buy online, pick up in store, so on and so forth. So the number of use cases, the journeys are far more, and till the time our store teams are not geared up for that, it becomes practically impossible to scale this channel. And hence, most of us today talk about profitability of this channel, because on a standalone basis, this channel cannot make money. Right? In an industry, in our industry, fashion industry, where we operate at anywhere between 30-35% kind of return, there's no way in this world you can make money till you realize the full potential of omnichannel. So that really is the essence, and that's what we are also trying to solve for.
Very insightful, Nilesh. Ranjan, would you like to add to this?
I think most of the things have been said, but I think one of the critical things, and I'll go back to the people in the store itself. So one of the critical things when we started this journey was to get them on board. Because if you talk to a store manager, he always thinks that or his people are the best place to sell the product that's there in the store. And the biggest change was getting them to part with that merchandise, that inventory, for an order which would have been placed on the e-commerce, either on your own e-commerce or in a partner e-commerce, or from some other stores through an indirect channel. And that shift was the biggest piece that one had to actually struggle with. If you've solved for that, I think that was the first biggest bottleneck that was supposed to be solved, to get them to agree saying, ये merchandise तेरा नहीं है भाई, ये company का है, ये customer के लिए है, भेज दो merchandise. You will get more merchandise. Giving them that confidence that you're going to get more merchandise if you even partner with this merchandise. That was the biggest shift, and that's where the biggest investment has had to be. Getting them to understand how this is going to benefit them in the larger ecosystem in terms of retention, because omnichannel is not just about fulfilling an order. It's not just about shipping faster to a customer. It is also about a retention tool. Imagine a customer walks into your store and you don't have the product. In a fast fashion space like ours, we quickly run out of sizes. We will quickly run out of colors. How do you still service that customer and retain that customer saying that, don't worry sir, we will still be able to deliver this product to you no matter wherever it is in the country. As long as it is available in any place in the country, I will be able to deliver it in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever the timeline is. and reassuring and ensuring that the delivery is made. So giving him that confidence that Omnichannel is not just about shipping out merchandise, but it is also another retention tool for him, so that he's able to also service that customer and not let the customer go to another brand in that same mall, in the nearby vicinity, and continuously keep servicing that customer. The next big piece, which is the whole challenge, is about backend. We often don't talk about the backend. The backend is the big shift in the supply chain. This is a mammoth exercise. When you start managing this logistically, it is very, very easier said than done. But then at the end of the day, there are so many more reconciliation points that have actually increased for you. Earlier, you were only managing a few distribution centers where you were running this operation and where you had full control of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Now it is about managing different micro-fulfillment centers where you actually do not have enough control on. Because a lot of things is being dictated by people who are sitting in another department, another function. And then bringing them together, and then bringing in the reconciliation points from financial perspective, closing that entire loop and ensuring that everything is reconciled and you are paid for whatever you are supposed to do, and that is accounted for. I think that's where the biggest investment, and those are the people who are supposed to be taken care of. And not forgetting the least of all of it is in terms of ensuring from a product perspective the availability of the product, the right cataloging, the right content, the fastest shoot, the fastest capability in terms of being able to ensure that you are able to get that product available onto all channels at the same time. All of those aspects and bringing all of these people as well together is important. So yes, all of them, the entire organization today is playing a large role. It is not just about one function within an organization. Yes, they are all playing different kinds of roles. Some of them are playing largely on the back end, but front end role is the most critical one because they are the ones who are executing it at the end of the day.
Thanks, Ranjan.
I'd like to add a few. I've been taking cue from the point what Ranjan mentioned right now. So again, inventory availability, super critical, because that is the assurance of onboarding a ground team to ensure that the experience is delivered very seamlessly. And for that, a very interesting backend is required, because when you start investing into inventory and getting into a fastest speed formula by placing inventory at multiple touch points, then obviously your inventory value inside the ecosystem increases. So a very interesting problem to solve where you have to optimize your inventory, yet ensure that availability doesn't go for a toss, right? And that ultimately starts defining your overall merchandising and buying strategy. So as Ranjan mentioned very right, that it is not about a singular function or say a segmented approach which will help in deploying an omnichannel strategy. It is about the entire organization coming and putting up their key priorities from a customer lens and then plan towards it. Inventory placement, very important. I mean, by design, the inventory, at least for electronics, it is very clear that whatever is bestseller is out of stock and whatever is not selling is available abundantly across. So effectively, so now you have to manage the two sides of the lever and again, strike a right balance among it. And one very critical point is provisioning of method of providing an endless sale solution where the store is empowered through online channel to deliver or fulfill a right customer experience, obviously with that increased delivery time, because the inventories might not be available at the right node when customer is asking for it. So again, a very differentiated complex problem on the inventory side to solve for an organization and then plan ahead. Yeah.
Atul, I know you had a very strong perspective here, so I've saved the best for last.
No, so I think Ranjan has actually nailed it. I mean, so the front desk guy, the salesperson in stores or wherever, so that's actually the key for the success of this omnichannel, because at the end of the day, there are multiple sites, multiple avenues which are available. But how a customer is treated by the person over there, if inventories are not available, how soon or how in a better way that can be made available from other channel. actually that gives the customer a different experience altogether. And we are seeing that change which is happening in many of the formats, many of the retail chains. We are seeing that the inventory is not available. The salesperson are asking the customers to open an app, go for a specific one, put a request, or they are doing themselves on behalf of customer and ensuring that as a company they will not lose the customer. Having said that, yes, there are challenges which are specifically in the mindset, because this mindset is still not geared up with all the sales team, front sales force across. But that mind shift is required, because at the end of the day, that is where as a company they are going to retain their market share or increase their market share, and that's something needs to happen. So, and that is where I think this particular topic also is being chosen on Omnichannel, wherein not for today but even for next few years, this is going to remain relevant, obviously with the catch of cost, which we anyways will have to see. But there are multiple things which are happening. One of the, furniture manufacturing store, which one of the best thing which I have seen on IKEA site is what they are doing is when you go to buy a sofa or something, the traditional way is that you measure the dimensions where you want to put a sofa, and then you go to the store, and then still you are not convinced whether that sofa will fit in over there or not. But then they have invested in technology, they have invested in kind of software wherein by sitting at home you can scan the place where you want to keep the stuff, and then put that stuff over there virtually and see how it fits in, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. There are many, for example, curtains and all. They have done multiple evaluations of them. That's an omnichannel experience, right? The customer can go, finally he will go and he will touch and then only buy the furniture. But before buying the furniture, he will have an idea online. So basically he's getting a mix of both, best of both rather, online as well as offline. And that is what the fundamental need of fundamental design based on which this omnichannel is going to get settled in.
Thanks Atul. Very interesting and very insightful. Yeah, just like to stay on this topic, right? I think one common theme mentioned by all of you was that training of the feet on the street, the people on the ground, the people interacting with the customers, probably the most important thing. How easy is it to do, right? How long did you take to get it right? Right? Maybe, and I'll just throw this open. Or are we still, as a country, still far away from doing this?
So I'll tell you, Farhan, while what we said is absolutely right, it is the feet on street which delivers this. But I think the change really needs to happen at an organization level, and I'll tell you why. Because, and look at all retail organizations, the way we are structured, there is a front-end team, there is a back-end team, there is a buying and merchandising team, right? The way we incentivize our front-end teams, most of us incentivize them for sales that happens in the store. The incentives are structured. If you do a sales of X number, you will be paid an X amount or Y amount. If you do Y kind of sales, you will be paid 1% of it. What it does is that we have created a behavior in our store teams where we tell them that you are actually responsible for the walk-in customer. Different brands have handled it in a different way. They've added the omnichannel sales to the store sales, though not accounting it there, given the incentives. But at the heart of it, we've told the store teams that your job is to cater to the walk-ins in the stores. So to me, the starting point is there. How do we change that is the first point. The second point is that how do we interact with our store teams? Most of the sales organizations, sales leaders, when they typically go for a store walk, they look at the visual merchandising, they look at stock availability, they talk to the store teams, ask them क्या बिक रहा है, क्या नहीं बिक रहा है, क्या trial room जा रहा है, क्या trial room से नहीं जा रहा है, why is it not selling? In all our conversations, in all the sales lead conversations, what we are telling them is that you please cater to the customer. Very few of us actually talk to the real feet on street and tell them that how is omnichannel actually helping your customer loyalty? What's happening to your top tier customers? Are they shopping with you online, offline? Do you actually know your top tier customers who are also shopping online? We don't have these conversations. organization. So to me, the real change starts from there. The moment the sales organization starts changing, a lot of this we start seeing in place. We've seen this personally in Pantaloon's organization. I believe that to me is the starting point. The second point is that we leave Omnichannel as a topic of discussion for some of the experts in the organization, right? There is a central team, central Omnichannel team, central digital team, central IT team, or a brand.com team, which is responsible for Omnichannel. Omnichannel is not a subject of a particular team. It is a subject for an organization, because Omnichannel is not necessarily about online sales. It is about experience for the customer who today navigates and experiences the brand both online and offline. So to me, that is really the starting point. The moment some of these behaviors start changing, we start seeing the front end stuff to change and talk a lot more Omni and a lot more customer. So that's my take on it.
Thanks, Nilesh. Would any of you like to add to this? Kumar, I saw you should.
So I think the biggest problem, I say, when a customer walks in at the store is, or say a biggest opportunity also, is when the customer feels that the person or the sales team which is on the ground has got a better knowledge for the product, what he wants to take, than the customer itself. Now there is a catch, because when the customer is already flooded with lots and lots of information which is available online, do a primary research by design and then come to the store, right? So, I mean, the real challenge is how to enable the person or the poor guy who's there on the floor, who is selling the product, that the knowledge levels are optimal, and that too across product. So eventually he has to do a PhD across all the brands and the product type to ensure that the right information is passed on to the customer, and customer gets the confidence that the advice which I am getting from a person has got a better knowledge than me for the product or the product category, and I am being suggested the right form. So to solve this, I think what we have started working on is providing a very ready-reckoner guide kind of, and eventually training. So basically a training strategy where on the verticals you start providing training across categories, and then subsequently a unified form in which how to communicate to the customer. Very, very critical, very, very important, because I mean, at least for electronics like us, technically sounding and solving the query of a customer is super critical to ensure that the right conversion happens on the floor, right? So I think that makes it very, very important. So typically we call it as a customer colleague app. I mean, for our team which is there on the ground. So a simple unified AMPOS which has all these features available. For interacting with the customer, there has to be some sidelines or information which is available on the tips of the salesperson, so that he can convince the customer, and then by design the conversion happens automatically, right? So that is very, very important, and again technology has to is playing a very critical role and will play a very critical role as we move ahead in the ladder, right? Because I think going forward, customer will come up and simply tell us, I mean, the expectation of the customer is that the salesperson who is standing in front of me is like Google. Right? Just type a keyword and the answer should come out, right? I mean, that's the expectation, right? So obviously, if you have to make a person a Google, then by design, I mean, the kind of information what we have to provide at the right time, at the right point. I mean, considering both sides of it. I mean, obviously, on the technology, I mean, on the recent update for the product, plus the software aspect of the customer. So that makes it very, very important. So a very decent behavioral change, and that's why I think the quality of people what we require on the floor will also elevate, right? I mean, that's what we are envisaging as the store of the future. By design, the Gen Zs who are going to come up at the store will require a very different kind of experience what they're looking at. And I think the human touch along with this technology backup or the technological support will help us enabling this entire journey in a very seamless form to the customer. Yeah, thank you.
I think I completely agree with what Nilesh and Kumar has said, but just to add to that, I think where we are moving towards. We first initially hired these guys on the shop floor for which skills. The core skill that we hired them was to sell products. That is what they were supposed to do. Let's also accept the fact why these guys came into our stores working there. Half of them did not find a good job and hence they walked into our stores, and that was the only job available for them. Let's be very, very true in identifying that. Which means that you have to give them the right experience to be able to stay there, stick there and continuously. And it's not an easy job standing for 8 hours, 9 hours a day and not finding even time to have your lunch properly. It's not an easy thing to do. So and then to add to that, we added to the misery when Omnichannel came in, we said, yaar, ab to tumko fulfillment bhi karne ka hai. तुमको प्रोडक्ट पैक भी करना है, प्रोडक्ट भेजना भी है टाइम पे, और टाइम पे ऑर्डर भी एक्सेप्ट करना है, कस्टमर को डील भी करना है, एंड एट द सेम टाइम यू आल्सो नीड टू कीप लुकिंग एट द डिवाइस saying ki when is there an order which has landed and how quickly can I accept that order so that I am able to fulfill, I am able to increase the sales for the store, at the same time I am also able to add some more incentive to myself. To top it all, then what we are now saying is you also need to become a very, very techie. Because now where we are moving in the store, we are saying the store is supposed to become smarter. It's an experience center. So what we are saying is when a customer walks into the store, the same guy who was only supposed to sell, who did not find a job anywhere and hence he landed there, we are saying now you need to become a very, very smart techie to be able to understand, looking at your device, saying ki, who is this customer who has walked into your store? Where has he started his journey? Maybe he started his journey in terms of discovering a product somewhere on Google, somewhere else, social media, kahin pe bhi. He's liked the product somewhere. He's added something to his cart. He's dropped something from there, and then make sense out of that and say what is the next best product I should recommend to that customer. So you become smarter, and that's where clienteling is taking us to. Because we at some point of time we are all somewhere or the other in that journey of clienteling. We will move there. Some of them would have, of course, moved there as well. So what will this clienteling do? It is far, far deeper engagement in terms of being able to personalize that experience for that customer to the unit of one. Saying, what is this? This is Ranjan Sharma who has walked into my store. This is his past purchase behavior. This is what he is most likely to buy, and this is what I should recommend to him and position to this customer. That's where we are moving to. So, in this whole ecosystem, who is the one who is going to that biggest change? This poor store guy, who actually did not find a job anywhere and hence he landed into that store working there. And we are adding more and more work to that poor guy, and every day we are adding more activity, and then we are saying, यार तूने स्कूल में पढ़ाई करी होती तो तेरे को ये जॉब करने की जरूरत नहीं थी, बट तूने उस समय नहीं पढ़ा तो अब तुमको भरपाई करनी पड़ेगी. आज पढ़ो, read about so many products that are there, learn about those products, understand those products so that you are able to recommend to your customer, you are able to answer to the customer saying, boss, this is what you will need. This cloth or this piece of cloth is going to fit the best on you. You bought a shirt earlier, so this denim is the one which is going to fit best on you. Why? One, because this is sustainable, because this has been manufactured in such place, this is the best priced product, this is made in the best factory, and blah blah blah, XYZ, so much more information. So at the end of the day, this is the guy who is becoming the most critical guy in the entire chain, and he is your go-to man, or our go-to man in the entire value chain, because he's the one who is bringing the revenue at the end of the day. He's paying for all of our salaries.
Thank you, Ranjan. Very insightful. On that note, maybe I'd just like to move to the next question. And just if you could just walk us through, obviously all of you have spoken about, how Omnichannel has evolved. You've also spoken about some of the challenges that we continue to face, right? And some of the things we continue to need to do, right? To essentially make this more successful, right? I'd just like to get your thoughts on what technology initiatives, right, or what technology solutions are likely to emerge over the next couple of years to basically help us move in the right direction.
So when we look at Omnichannel and both front end and back end, as Ranjan said a few minutes back. So one of the major things is in the back end, every organization has to ensure that its whole order management cycle has to be seamless, and it has to be in a structured way. I mean, it can't be for a single DC or a single fulfillment center. You cannot have 2 or 3 different systems on which ERP systems on which the team is supposed to work. So obviously that's having that complete homogeneity in the backend system is quite important, and hence many of the leading ERP service providers are also working on the software wherein they will be able to provide this kind of flexibility in the system. I mean, you will have multiple nodes from where one will be shipping the product. So you will be shipping the product from your the assigned distribution centers for that particular pin code, or you are shipping it from somewhere else. You are shipping it from the stores. So all that flexibility is needed in the back end, and at the same time, that flexibility has to come in a way wherein supply chain will understand that and get it shipped to the customer's expectations. So the back end is quite important, and on the front end, what I would see is that emergence of new softwares, emergence of new technologies, wherein we have seen in spectacles basically, wherein if you get online, you will be, I mean, you can just scan your face and you will start, whatever spectacle you choose, specs you choose, you can just wear it and you can see how you look before getting into the physical store and actually wearing it and purchasing it. So basically these kind of technologies are supposed to emerge and through Omnichannel. I think when we look at all social media channels, there are multiple, right? There are Facebook, Insta, YouTube, Google. So the buying pattern, everything, the intelligence of building that to see whether whenever a customer is walking to the brick and mortar store, what he or she is going to purchase. Obviously that intelligence is getting built, and AI is going to play a very, very crucial role in this. Already we have seen that already started in many of the fashion and retail chains. But I would say there is a huge scope further, and this will keep on going on and on. I mean, the way we buy today, I'm sure the buying experience is just going to get enhanced further. Yeah.
Nilesh, would you like to add?
So I think I'll bucket this into 3 parts. To me, I think there are 3 sets of technologies which are really just around the corner. What Atul mentioned, virtual trial room, try and buy solutions, all of these customer-facing technologies are right here. There are several guys who are experimenting with, we are experimenting with it. Different levels of maturity, we've still not been able to crack a very good 3-dimensional rendering of a customer. But these technologies are right here and now. To me, I think there is a technology which possibly a lot of us are not realizing is the entire emergence of QR. And you go to China, you go to some of the most developed countries, you see QR being practically present everywhere, and the power of what you can do with QR is tremendous. And especially when you talk to younger customers, typically in the age bracket of 18 to 25, 25 to 30, most of them carrying smartphones, their comfort with using cameras, scanners is tremendous. So that is a place where possibly not all of us are investing in the right proportion, but we believe that there is a future there. What you can do, not just in terms of what Ranjan mentioned, clienteling, for example, is today extremely difficult for the customer, for the staff. It is just segmenting every customer. We see, for example, upwards of 100 crore, 10 crore customer walk-ins. It's practically impossible. But all of that can actually get condensed to a QR, where a staff doesn't have to do some of this. So that is another technology which we believe has a bright future. Out of that, I think on the back end, specifically to folks like us on the supply chain side of things, the entire USM and RFID, I think it's again something that possibly not all of us have invested enough on, and the kind of visibility it can bring across our entire ecosystem, the customer use cases, the journeys that we can create it out of checkouts, self-checkouts, assisted checkouts are just tremendous. So to me, I think these are some of the technologies that we are looking at, besides what Atul said, that today practically every ERP solution is also giving a POS solution, is also giving a loyalty backend. So that's another emergence that we are seeing.
Nice. Would you like to add to this? Kumar.
So again, a supply chain bias. When you look at technology, also sorry, but that's the DNA, right? So if I divide this primarily pre-fulfillment, fulfillment, and post-fulfillment, entire technology stack. I mean, obviously my way of looking at it. Pre-fulfillment, obviously, I mean, when you look at it, obviously selling techniques, advancement in MPOS, which is, I mean, and typically the PW, progressive web application, which is nothing but the website. So all of this should provide a very seamless experience, and evolutions are happening. Say, for example, and in mobile POS, obviously the offer inclusion and all of it, which will help, which will make the deal sweeter for the customer. Similarly, on the website, I mean, lots and lots of assistance typically for the customer to decide for the product, and similar experience to be provided at the store with the store team, right? Second part is obviously the inventory placement, again, which comes under pre-fulfillment. Inventory placement through right set of technology, maintaining your min-max levels, and then decide on, how to replenish or how to provide inventory so that the entire business can be run in a very optimal form. Third part is obviously serviceability, which serviceability is again a typical backend activity, where we decide on that how we are going to fulfill a customer with customers' desired SLA in the most cost optimal form. So super critical, and I think many nuances to it, because ultimately that is nothing but typically acts like an entire controlling element on the technology stack to ensure that the customer fulfillment is done in the right way. Now, considering the entire overall fulfillment stack, which is primarily, as I think Atul also mentioned, is the order management system, typically the entire order orchestration, obviously, the warehouse management system for ensuring that the inventories are intact and obviously the right entries are passed across the entire ERP scope, and the transport management system, and ultimately a unified layer of control tower which should encompass this entire data and provide a very right visibility to the customer. Super important, because right now customer wants a self-serve. They don't want to be kept in dark once they place an order, because they're paying money for it, right? So obviously it's their right to do that. The third part, which is again the post-fulfillment side of it, which is again managing the entire life cycle of the product, which clearly indicates that providing right services whenever the customer requires that, in terms of, say, for example, installation, repairs, and all of it. And subsequently, the end state is of the technology is managing the entire life cycle of the product, where, say, for example, when a customer needs an upgrade, typically on the genuine needs of the customer, it is not the pushy sales kind of, but usually it turns out like that only. So by design, technology upgrade leading to customer upgrading their product, and then again the entire piece is a cycle. So this is how the entire ecosystem, in my view, is evolving, and I think there are many extra miles to go. The stores, which is like typically right now as a display center, will turn out to be an experience center. Go have a product, and the experience center can be on the website also. So eventually, wherever you want to place an order, go and place an order, and then the fulfillment at the back end will be done, which will be very, very different. Which will be very, very different from what is happening right now. Where it is quite possible that you go order a product, and while reaching back, you get your product at your doorstep, right? So very many differentiated experiences, and that's how the customer is looking at it. And now it is, what we felt was it's not about speed delivery, but it's about the delivery at the right time or installation at the right time when I want. So that's the choice what the customer is asking for right now. So it is not about, say for example in merchant and appliance, typically in garment kind of structure where it is a try and buy. So customer wants a try and buy to be provided online. I was talking to one of my friend at Mantra. He was saying that they're planning to provide alteration at the doorstep. Okay, very new kind of service. very, very different. So the more in terms of evolution, these pieces are really evolving. And I think there is a very extra mile or long mile to go to make it happen really for the customer. Thank you.
I think there are many technologies that's needed, but before we even embark upon the new technologies, I think it's all about getting the house in order today with today's technology, because let's accept the fact they've all been built in patches, they've all been built over time. Though we keep talking about a connected enterprise architecture, but then at some point of the other, things fail today. So one is the most important thing is the technology that we have today. They have to all work in sync because they've all been a different class. All of us have enterprise class solutions, and at the same time we also have a lot of startup solutions which are evolving with you. But the new technologies that's supposed to come in is mostly, I think, biggest investment is needed on the experience side itself, from a customer's experience side, where the customer is no more just buying either from your store or from your website. There are many more channels that the customer is buying, and how do you bring all of that together? The customer could be buying from social media, the customer could be buying from a conversational commerce, from multiple places he can actually go and buy. How do you retain that same experience and carry the experience from one place to the other as well? So why should there be a differentiation in terms of when a customer walks into a store and he is assisted by somebody who is helping him to decide a product? Why can't that same experience be carried in other channels? Why can't that same experience be carried in a conversational commerce or a social commerce or your website? Trial room, obviously, we've all talked about why should you not take that entire piece everywhere? So the experience cannot be an experience of an e-commerce and an experience of a store. When we talk of omnichannel, it has to be one single experience for the customer across different channels that have to work together. What are we trying to solve for? One is obviously shift from store is one piece that we've all solved for mostly. The next big piece that we are all trying to solve for, or some of us would have solved for, is buy from anywhere, return anywhere. Next is curbside pickup is the other piece that why would a customer want to? He has scarce time. He doesn't want to walk into the store. He just wants to go and drive through, pick up a product and leave. How do you enable that? Bringing all those journeys together, so technologies around that. The second biggest important aspect of all of this is, you've done all of this, but if your inventory is not right, your inventory is not optimized, then everything else fails. So having the right inventory at the right place, which we all, that's the fundamental of supply chain. Having the right inventory at the right place at the right time, that's becoming all the more critical today. Then whatever inventory you have in whichever place, that has to be identifiable. So obviously the traceability of that product has to be is of an utmost importance to be able to find that product in the store as well, if it is there, because the speed again has to be done. And I think I would not say that's the last thing that one has to solve for. Is about we all work with not just our own e-commerce, but so many channels, so many partner technologies, our own technologies, homegrown technologies, custom technologies. We all bring them together. There are leakages within all of them. How do you reconcile and ensure that the leakages are minimized? Because there is a multiplier effect in terms of the leakages. One system from one system to other system, if there is a leakage, that is only going to get amplified in the third system that data is going to get pushed into. How do you ensure that all of that is synced and your inventory is optimized? Most of us work with safety stock levels. Why should I work with a safety stock level? I am blocking one piece or two pieces of my entire inventory into my chain. That's a huge money. Why should I block that? Who am I going to sell that product to at the end of the day? When it is not going to be, when I get it delisted, that product shelf life has gone. I should be able to reach to a stage where I have every piece of my inventory is available to be sold from whichever channel at any point of time. There shouldn't be an inventory for a channel at all. Inventory is for everyone. This is one single view of inventory. I think that's the key that we have to solve for.
Thanks, Ranjan. And just as lasting thoughts, I don't think we have too much time left, maybe for a minute each. Atul and Nilesh, maybe you can just tell us, as supply chain leaders, what is the role that you are going to need to play to bring in, some of these front-end challenges, people on the ground, inventory, and just use technology as a way to stitch all of this up, right? What's the role of supply chain leaders which includes the four of you and a lot of people in the room as well.
I think we have covered most of it when it came to the challenges from front end and back end. From supply chain perspective, it's quite important for us to ensure that we will have the kind of common platform wherein we can deliver this experience to the customer. I mean, if a customer buying from online or offline, I mean, he should not be feeling that he's buying from a different company altogether, or he's buying a completely different product and online mein acha milta hai, offline mein acha milta hai. I mean, we have to ensure the homogeneity and we have to ensure the seamlessness and the whole structure. I think that is what we will have to do. At the same time, obviously, we need to ensure that the network is optimized enough to take care of the cost, because at the end of the day, whole journey of customer satisfaction can continue if the companies are in profits. Yeah.
Thanks. Atul. Nilesh, any last point?
One last point. Typically, and because you asked, how do we as supply chain leaders need to change? Supply chain for the longest period of time has been an enabling function, has been an back-end subject. What really needs to change in my view is that customer service is no longer a front-end agenda. It is actually a supply chain agenda, and especially in an omnichannel environment. And one of the most beautiful examples that I keep quoting is Lenskart. Lenskart has executed the entire omnichannel journey brilliantly well. You look at what they've done when a associate walks into your store, carries 5 pieces for you, he makes sure that he sells. And that's a supply chain guy who's actually walked into your store. So customer service is actually a supply chain agenda in an omnichannel environment. That to me is the biggest change.
Thanks, Nilesh. When I think we're out of time, thank you all. I'd just like to thank the four of you for joining us and sharing some very insightful thoughts. I'm sure it was insightful for all of you, and thank you all for also joining.
Thank you, Farhan.